Hello, I'm Geoffrey Fox, Jeff as everybody calls me. I want to tell you something about how and why I wrote my latest book, A Gift for the Sultan, and also to show you where I live and work. This is a small fishing village on the southeast coast of Spain called Carbonera. A Gift for the Sultan is a story that takes place more than 600 years ago, but it's also a story of conflicts that are occurring daily, that we're reading about in the newspapers all the time. The setting is the city of Constantinople. Inside the city and around it, well, the city is under siege, terrible siege, by a horde led by a sultan who calls himself Thunderbolt Bayezid. This is in 1402. This is 51 years before the city will become Muslim, before another sultan, a grandson of this one, will in fact conquer the city. But in my story, and in historical fact, this sultan very nearly took the city, and the city was on the verge of surrender. And that is the setting. What happens when a city, a great city, a very great city, is under such enormous stress? What happened in Sarajevo in the 1990s? What is happening today in Baghdad and in Kabul and in Beirut? So this is a story of today. This is a story of the people, urban people, with all of their mix, working class people, nobles, aristocrats, soldiers, all kinds of people, religious people. How do they defend themselves against an enemy that is an enemy not just of their faith, but of their urban culture itself? So that really is the setting of my story. In it you will find a very religious, a very devout, and very young Christian princess, Greek Orthodox, of course. You will meet a Turkish warrior, a man of enormous honor, of great loyalty to his traditional values, which are partly Islamic, but largely pre-Islamic. You will find people who are heroic, you'll find people who are cynical, and those who are treacherous. But all these people, like the people we know, and the people who are really engaged in all of these conflicts, are very complex. Now I want to show you the specific place where I work, my office. Here we are in my office, where I want to say something about what this book means to me. It's a break, a radical break, with almost everything I've written up to now, because almost all the books, as you can see on my list, as you've seen on the shelf, all the books I've written have had something to do with Latin America. This story takes place long before there was a Latin America. It's 90 years before Columbus even sailed across the Atlantic Ocean. So, yes, it's a break, but it's also a continuity, because the themes are themes I've been concerned about all my life. It's what happens when cultures, very different cultures, collide. How do people reinvent themselves? How do people from opposite belief systems, opposite ways of understanding the world, and yet they find that they have to live together, how do they manage this? Well, of course, in lots of different ways. And here you will see some of them. This book is really an exploration. It's an attempt to understand how Muslims, who are very convinced of their faith, Orthodox Christians who are equally convinced of their faith, and a lot of people who are maybe not so convinced, are a bit skeptical in both camps. How and why they come together, how they can collaborate when necessary, and what happens when there's some powerful emotion, such as greed or love. So, those are the themes. The themes I've summed up in my book include how a great city defends itself against its enemies, the enemies of its culture and its faith. Another great theme is how people of such conflicting cultures collude sometimes, connive, and how they interact. And a third, really, because this is a very important theme in the book, is the women. There are many, many women who are prominent in this novel, and they are particularly interesting because the men try to use them as pawns in their power games. But as you will find, and as we men often find in real life, women may discover that they have power of their own and make their own independent decisions. So, these then are the themes of A Gift for the Sultan. I hope you will read it, and I'm glad to have had this opportunity to show you a little bit about where I am and how I work.